Russian UAV attacks against Ukrainian coasts and ports over the Black Sea continue to be one of the war's most exhausting and persistent threats. In these attacks occurring around Crimea, the Kremlin generally deploys Shahed-type drones, aiming to keep both international maritime traffic and Ukraine's logistics lines under pressure. Russia has displayed this ruthless stance time and again, particularly in Shahed attacks against civilian commercial ships and search and rescue vessels in the Black Sea. But Ukraine gave a striking response to this overwhelming aerial threat by launching bullet-shaped interceptor drones from the decks of naval drones, gaining the ability to hunt airborne Shaheds on the open sea. Uncrewed surface vessels of the Magura type in particular took center stage in this remarkable tactic, a process that scaled rapidly under the leadership of Ukraine's unmanned systems forces. One of the pivotal moments in this transformation took place in the middle of the Black Sea. Off the coast, sitting quietly on the waves, was one of Ukraine's naval drones, already known for sinking Russian warships. This time, though, it wasn't there to attack, but to defend. No one was aboard. Operators far away, watching from screens in a shelter, were controlling it remotely. A low, persistent silhouette appeared on the horizon, a Russian Shahed heading toward Ukrainian cities. At that moment, something unprecedented happened. A launch system on the boat's deck opened, and a small bullet-shaped interceptor drone shot into the air. Exceeding 300 kilometers per hour, it caught up to the Shahed, locked on, and dove into it in mid-air, destroying it while it was still hundreds of kilometers from the coast. Two unmanned machines had met over open water, and one had hunted the other down. This wasn't a one-off demonstration. Since that first strike in April 2026, Ukraine has rapidly built on this capability, with new and increasingly powerful naval platforms appearing one after another. The unit behind this breakthrough is known for operating more like a technology startup than a conventional military unit, with a working philosophy built around fast iteration: build a prototype, test it, scale what works, and discard what doesn't. This culture of rapid experimentation has produced a string of world firsts, and this unit alone has reportedly been responsible for a significant share of all Shaheds shot down across Ukraine. The sea-launched interception achieved in early 2026 was its boldest step yet. The interceptor at the heart of this system has become something of a legend in Ukraine. Known as Sting, it wasn't built by a major defense contractor, but developed by a volunteer group, largely funded through donations, and the project nearly folded in early 2025 before footage of it downing a Shahed went viral and changed everything. Today, it's Ukraine's most successful Shahed hunter, a 3D printed bullet-shaped drone with 4 powerful motors capable of exceeding 300 kilometers per hour, equipped with a thermal camera for night operations and AI-assisted target lock at the moment of intercept. What makes it formidable isn't just performance, but cost. Each unit runs around $2,300, with production capacity near 100 units a day. By early 2026, it had downed thousands of Shahed and Gerbera-type drones, and it has proven especially effective against jet-powered Shahed variants, Russia's hardest threat to intercept, accounting for the majority of those kills as of spring 2026. Launching this weapon from a naval platform adds an entirely new dimension, since the same vessel can now serve as an attack platform against Russian shipping one day and an air defense asset the next, part of what Ukraine's naval drone units describe as an integrated strike concept. Why did Ukraine need to invent such an unconventional defense? The answer lies in the sheer scale of the Shahed threat. These Iranian-designed loitering munitions carry large explosive payloads and fly low to evade radar, but the real danger lies in their numbers. Russia's mass production effort in Tatarstan pushed monthly launch totals into the thousands, with hundreds of drones now capable of being launched in a single night. Even though Ukrainian air defense intercepts the vast majority, a small percentage getting through in a mass attack still means dozens of hits, enough to seriously damage cities and energy infrastructure. Moscow has also introduced faster, jet-powered variants that are far harder to intercept, forcing Ukraine to build new defensive layers across land, air, and now sea. The maritime layer matters because a large share of Shaheds approach Ukraine from the south over the Black Sea from the direction of occupied Crimea. Intercepting them while still over water before they reach the coast offers much earlier protection for port cities. But defending the open sea had long seemed nearly impossible. Fixed air defense systems can't be placed in open water, and Ukraine has very few warships. Unmanned naval vessels are now filling that gap, building on a broader transformation already underway in the Black Sea. Ukraine's naval drones have been one of the war's most unexpected successes. A country with almost no navy has used small, cheap, unmanned boats to inflict heavy losses on Russia's established Black Sea fleet, sinking or damaging dozens of warships, including symbolic losses like the fleet's flagship cruiser, and causing hundreds of millions of dollars in damage. The pressure became so severe that Russia was forced to withdraw most of its fleet from its historic base in Sevastopol to Novorossiysk, much farther east, as early as late 2023. Because Turkey has closed the straits to warships under the Montreux Convention, Russia cannot reinforce its Black Sea fleet from outside. As a result, Ukraine, without a single major combat ship, has effectively created a sea denial zone. Now those same unmanned vessels are taking on a new role, not just attacking at sea, but defending the sky, intercepting airborne threats headed toward Crimea and occupied areas. The Black Sea is increasingly becoming a contested space for Russia, both on the water and in the air above it. What makes this story most striking, though, isn't the technology or geography, it's the economics. Modern air defense's central problem is cost asymmetry. A Shahed costs tens of thousands of dollars, while shooting it down with a traditional interceptor missile can cost millions. Even a successful intercept is, in cost terms, a loss. That imbalance was central to Russia's strategy, overwhelming Ukraine's expensive limited defenses with cheap, abundant drones. Interceptor drones reverse that logic entirely, since they cost only a few $1,000s each, allowing Ukraine to neutralize an expensive threat at comparable or even lower cost. This isn't a minor detail, it's central to making a long war of attrition sustainable, and the same math applies at sea, where costly ship-based defense missiles are far more expensive than the drones targeting them and can't easily be resupplied at sea. And this is only the beginning. Ukraine is developing far more advanced systems, most notably a next-generation unmanned vessel unveiled in May 2026 that resembles a floating carrier more than a drone boat. Roughly 9 meters long, with a range of over 1,000 kilometers, an endurance of nearly 3 days, it can carry dozens of guided interceptor drones on a single mission, each capable of speeds near 400 kilometers per hour and autonomous target tracking. It can optionally carry real air-to-air missiles, making it a threat to aircraft, helicopters, and cruise missiles, as well as drones. Because Russian Shaheds often follow rivers as low-altitude corridors to avoid radar on their way to cities, a mobile platform capable of operating on inland waterways can position itself directly along these flight paths. On the other side of this race, Russia is notably behind. It has its own naval drone programs, but they remain focused mainly on attack and patrol roles, and Russia only established a dedicated unmanned systems force roughly a year and a half after Ukraine did. Analysts say Russia has yet to demonstrate anything comparable to Ukraine's sea-based air intercept capability and continues to rely mainly on electronic jamming, a method increasingly limited against Ukraine's autonomous, AI-guided interceptors. This capability's significance extends well beyond Ukraine. The United States is building a strategy around the same logic to counter China's naval power in the Pacific, planning to field dozens of medium-sized unmanned warships by the early 2030s and eventually make close to half its fleet robotic, using large unmanned vessels to carry and deploy smaller drones. A concept nearly identical to what Ukraine pioneered out of necessity. In effect, the Black Sea has become a live testing ground for the future of unmanned naval warfare, a model already being studied and copied elsewhere. The Shahed design itself has spread to multiple state and non-state actors, with Iran supplying similar drones for use well beyond Ukraine. And Ukraine's own naval tactics are beginning to draw imitators as well, part of a broader shift toward low-cost drone warfare spreading from the Black Sea to the Middle East and the Pacific. Still, the limits of this success are real. Sea-launched interception remains far from full scale. The April breakthrough was a proof of concept, not a mass-deployed system, and most Shaheds are still intercepted from land using conventional air defense. Russia, meanwhile, continues to develop harder-to-intercept variants, especially jet-powered Shaheds capable of much higher speeds, which Ukrainian officials have called their most urgent unresolved problem. And these cheap interceptors, however effective against relatively slow drones, are essentially useless against faster, higher-altitude threats like ballistic missiles. None of that undercuts the core achievement, though, proving that defense can be made cheaper than attack. As Russia builds faster drones, Ukraine builds faster interceptors, a race with no clear end, but one in which Ukraine's naval intercept capability shows just how far ahead it currently is, and a signal that the weapon Russia has relied on most may no longer be as untouchable as once assumed.